Gotta do something about this lighting. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Bethany. Today we're going to talk about all the books that I read in June. Okay, so I do realize that by the time you're seeing this, it is probably the middle of July. So I am behind on my June wrap up. I also have not put out a video about my July TBR, which I kind of thought I just would skip that this month because I really feel like mood reading and really changing up what I'm reading. But I do have a list in my mind. I do have some book clubs I'm participating in, so I do kind of have a plan. I just hadn't filmed a video about it. So at the end of this video, there's going to be a little bonus, my TBR for July, just because I don't have time to make two videos and I'm already late on both of these videos. So I thought I would just combine those. But first, let's talk about June. June already feels like forever ago. But I did have a pretty good reading month in June, so I want to talk about those books. Let me find out how many I read. So I read 12 books in the month of June. I've been doing my wrap-ups in star rating order, so I'm going to continue with that today. We're going to start with my 3 stars. I don't often have 1 and 2 stars. I'm also going to chat a little bit about my star rating system because I feel like it's kind of not the same as a lot of other people's, and I've been feeling like I might need to change it a little bit, but then again I also don't. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit, but we're going to start with my 3-star reads, which I don't have physical copies of either of those, so there were only 2 on that list. The first one is Shady Hollow by Juno Black. This was in my cozy mystery reading vlog, so I'll link that below. This was 3 stars. I liked the idea. The descriptions in the book were good. I liked the animal characters idea, but the plot I just didn't enjoy. The next 3-star book that I read is Moms Bringing Out the Best in Dads. There's a subtitle. I don't remember what it is. I also don't remember the author, but I'll put a picture up here. And this was a good book, but it was just okay, and I didn't feel like there was anything really that new in it. It didn't really kind of encourage me in what I was looking for, although I will say that it did really help me to appreciate my husband and just the things that he does, the like role he plays as a father, just I guess because it made me realize like what some other people struggle with, or like what other women want, I guess, and realizing that like I don't know, it just helps me to be grateful for my husband. And there were some good things in it. It just, I don't really remember anything I learned from it at this point, other than, like I said, just helping me to be grateful. I do think that it would be helpful for maybe a new mom. I feel like there was a lot of like early parenting things in there, and we're kind of past that phase. This book just didn't really do what I wanted it to do, so for that reason it got 3 stars. Alright, next we're going to get into my 4-star reads. I have 4 of those for this month, and here's where I kind of want to talk about how I rate books. So the 4-star area is really difficult for me because this is where I always want to add in half stars. I don't use half stars, and I've often felt like if I do start to include half stars, it's just going to make it more complicated for me, and I'll have an even more difficult time making a decision. But the 3 to 4-star area is where I'm always kind of wishing I had a 3.5, which I know I can make the rules. I can add a 3.5, and that'd be the only half star I put in. Anyway, but I just struggle because usually a 4-star book for me is a book that I really liked parts of, or I enjoyed parts of, but it wasn't just like, wow, that's awesome. Like, it didn't really stand out to me. And I feel like for other people that would be more like a 3-star book. I don't know. It's really hard because I did have 3-star books too. So it's hard for me to like determine what the difference is. Anyway, another reason why I don't really want to do half stars is that I feel like I won't rate as many books 5 stars, and I kind of like that I'm generous with my 5 stars. Like, if I really enjoy a book, I just want to give it 5 stars. I don't want to put so much pressure on what makes a book a 5 star. Like, I want to have a bunch of 5 star books and then have favorites of those. Anyway, I feel like I just tend to often rank books like a star above what other people would based on like similar feelings, if that makes sense. So all that to say, here are my 4-star books. Some of them were generous 4 stars, some of them were solid 4 stars. So the first one is When Hope Sank. This is part of a series that is Christian historical fiction. They're short books, and they're like highlighting a part of American history or like a tragedy or an event like specifically that's not very well known. So this one was about the Sultana, which was around, I guess it was just after the Civil War. It was a ship that was on the Mississippi River, I believe, and exploded. And so this was a story about that. And when I first saw this series of books, I thought that they sounded kind of like the I Survived books for kids, but for adults and a Christian perspective. And I thought that was great. So I was really excited about this. I did enjoy the story, but overall it was kind of okay. I felt like I could have had more. I would have actually liked it if the book was longer. More information about the history, more connection with the characters, I think would have been great for me. I'm not super hard to please when it comes to historical fiction, so I did enjoy it, and I liked learning about the Sultana and learning about that time period, so all of that was great. I definitely recommend it. I do want to read more from this series. I think the series is called A Day to Remember, but I will put the picture of the book up here. Hopefully it's already been up there. But anyway, I recommend that. It just wasn't like a super standout 5-star to me. Okay, my next 4-star is Above the Fire by Michael O'Donnell, I think. I'm gonna put a picture up as well. I don't have this one. This was a library book, and this was kind of a 5-star prediction. This was from my list of 12 books that I want to read in 2024 that is based on what I liked last year. So this book was a good one for me because it just kind of, I don't know, it's just like the type of book I really usually enjoy. It was kind of adventure-y, post-apocalyptic. So anyway, it's following a father and his son. His son, I think, was 7, which my son just turned 8, so when I was reading it, he was 7. So that's always fun to kind of see like a child character that's reminds me of one of my own children or is around their age. So they were on this hiking trip, and while they were like up in the mountains, the electricity went out down below and things started to kind of go downhill in society. And so they decided to stay in the mountains. And then it started to become winter, so they were basically trapped up there because of the snow. So they were living off of just like food storage in the cabins that were up there. And they met a few people along the way, but for the most part, it was just focused around the 2 of them. And I really enjoyed it. I feel like this book is a book that is for me, but might not be for other people. It's pretty slow paced. It focuses a lot on like the father and son relationship, which I really liked. But I think some people might come into a book like this and expect a lot more action or like thriller content, and it was really slow paced. I mean, there was some action. Overall, it was really like this story about this man and his son, and I just really enjoyed that. So that one was definitely a solid 4-star for me. Alright, the next 4-star read was The Love Script by Toni Shiloh. I do have a vlog of me reading this. This was my Read Like a Booktuber for the month of June, and that was, this is one of Oceana, from Oceana Gotta Read 'Em All, one of her favorites from last year. So I chose that from her favorite video, and you can watch the vlog. I'll link it below if you want more details. This is a Christian romance, and I thought the faith content in it was so good. That's what made it 4 stars for me versus probably more like a 3, just because the romance, I just didn't feel it or believe it as much, but the characters individually, I really liked them both. I liked their family. I liked the faith content, like I said, a lot, the friendships in here. So it had some really great things. I just wasn't really into the romance. I want to read more of Toni Shiloh's books because of that faith content. All right, and my last 4-star is Where the Road Bends by Rachel Fordham. This was a buddy read with Keisha at A Book Like You, and this is a historical romance, Christian historical romance, and this was good. This is one that I was really struggling between 3 and 4 stars, kind of like The Love Script, but I ended up just being generous and going with 4 stars because I liked the idea, I liked the story, and I liked some of the like messages behind it of grace and helping people and found family. That was really strong in this, and I really enjoyed it. This is in the 1880s, so this is one thing that kind of bothered me about this. I really love historical fiction, but I want it to have like a historical purpose, I guess, or like highlight an event in history or just teach me something about history, and this was really just set in 1880s. Like, other than it having an impact on like some of the gender roles and circumstances they were in, that was really the only significance to the time period. And so I don't know, it kind of let me down in the historical fiction department. But this is a story about a woman named Nora who recently lost her father. I think her mother had passed away many years ago, and she is trying to save her family farm. And in order to do that, she basically needs to marry this man who she's not in love with. And so she's fine with doing that. She's kind of accepted that, but then she finds Quincy on her land, very injured, and she nurses him back to health, and you can just tell there's a connection between them, but he doesn't have the money to save her land, and he knows that. And so yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about this story. This took a direction I was not expecting, and it also, I don't know, it was surprising but also kind of slow paced at times. So it was like moved really fast in the beginning and then got a little slow for me. So I enjoyed it though. Like I said, I liked the messages, really liked the found family, liked some of the characters in it, and how they kind of became friends or just became a family. So I enjoyed that part. Okay, now we get to talk about my 5 stars. So exciting. So first is Crime and Poetry by Amanda Flower. So in my cozy mystery reading vlog, this was the winner. This was my first 5-star cozy, and I loved it so much. It was just the right book at the right time, and her writing is really good. Like, I just enjoyed the description. I felt connected to the characters, which is something I rarely feel in cozies. And I was curious about the mystery. I cared about that. So it was definitely a big win for me, and I want to read more from Amanda Flower. There is like a magical realism element in it. This is following a girl who comes back to her hometown where she was raised by her grandma, or like her grandma is the only family she has left, and her grandma owns a magical bookshop, in an old house, and I just really liked the town and the descriptions of everything, and I really enjoyed this book. Next is Cole and Layla Are Just Friends by Bethany Turner. This may have been my favorite book this month. I loved it so much. It is a Christian romance, and Bethany Turner is so funny and just creative, and there's so much pop culture reference in this book, like so much, and it was just so fun. I loved these characters. They were the best. Their friendship was so sweet. The way they cared about each other was just so sweet, and they were also older. They were about to turn 40. They'd been friends like their entire lives, so they had all this history, and it was so good. I just really strongly recommend this book if you just want to have a good time and smile and laugh and feel great. So loved that one. Then I have 2 books in a series. I did a reread of If I Run. I listened to it on audio and read it in one day, and that was preparing me to read the second book in the series with some friends. So I rated this 5 stars the first time I read it last year and kept my rating at 5 stars. Such a good story, good faith content. This is following Casey, and she finds her best friend murdered, and she basically feels like she will be blamed for it. So she runs away. She leaves him and for the police to find him, and goes on the run because she believes that there is corruption in the police department in her town, and that they will try to pin this on her even though she did not do it. So she's on the run, and then we're also following Dylan, who is a private investigator who just got out of the military. He is struggling with some PTSD, and he has been hired as a private investigator to go and find Casey. So we're going back and forth between their perspectives, and it is just such a good book. After that, I read If I'm Found, which is book number 2. There is a 3rd book also that I hope to read soon. I buddy read this with Lauren at Lauren Jean and Rachel over on Instagram, and I had so much fun reading this with them. This was also 5 stars. There were a lot of heavy topics in this book, so I would look up content warnings. I guess I can say that there's suicide, child abuse, child sexual abuse mentioned. It was a little more than I wanted at times, but there wasn't like actual things on the page, if that makes sense. I feel like I don't want to say too much, but definitely this is a series that I would look up if you're concerned about content. It is a Christian story, and I feel like the way she handles everything is really good, and that really helps me to keep it at a 5 star, even though it has some stuff that was a little heavy. Well, it was a lot heavy. But anyway, her writing, her faith content, Casey is on a faith journey in this series, and that is wonderful to see. And there's also kind of a very slow burn romance going on. So anyway, I definitely recommend this, but like I said, I would kind of look into it if you're concerned about some of that content. Okay, 2 more 5 stars. So this is Love and the Silver Lining by Tamiel Gray. This is the 2nd book in the State of Grace series, and I loved this so much. I had such a good time with it. Tamiel Gray just writes really deep, good, relatable books from my experience. This is only the 2nd one, but I just feel like there's kind of like a cliche, or like what you expect from Christian fiction, Christian romance especially, and this is not that. It's so unique and so deep to me. I just loved it so much. So this is like a friends to lovers romance, but like I said, there's so much depth, and one of the things going on in here is the main character female main character, her parents are going through a divorce, like, but she's an adult, and all of her like emotions and grief with that, I thought was handled really well. As an adult child of parents who are still married, I could see how maybe society or people would be like, you're an adult, like, why is this such a big deal? But it just really rocked her world. I mean, she grew up in this Christian home with parents who, you know, taught her all these things about relationships and marriage, and then she's an adult and unmarried, but that kind of all falls apart. And I felt like, I just thought that was really good because, like I said, I haven't experienced that, but if I were to experience that, God forbid, then I mean, I feel like I could relate to the emotions that she was going through. Like, just because she's an adult doesn't mean that it wasn't like really impacting her life and her belief system and just like everything. So I loved that about this book. And there were other like deep things with the male main character, and yeah, so good. Highly recommend. The last 5-star that I had is What Happens Next by Christina Suzanne Nelson. This is like a mystery thriller Christian. There is a podcast element, although I don't think it was as strong as some other podcast thrillers. This is following Faith, and she, when she was I think 10, lived in her grandma's small town just for like the summer with her family, and became best friends with what's that girl's name? And she becomes best friends with Heather, and they spend the whole summer together, and it's just great. So then they have to move at the end of the summer, and Faith sends letters to Heather, but she never hears back from her, and so she just kind of feels like maybe they weren't as close as she thought. So she grows up, and then she's, I think, in her, how old is she? 40s at the time. And Heather's sister reaches out to her because of her podcast and says, hey, do you think you could help try to solve my sister's disappearance? Well, apparently, right after Faith moved out of this town, Heather disappeared. So like I said, I think they were 10, and she'd never been found. So this book is going between those two timelines, and it's going from Faith's perspective, current time, and then it has a perspective from Heather from that summer, which I was a little bit nervous about because I was thinking, I don't want to like see bad things happen to Heather from Heather's perspective, but I'm glad to say that that didn't happen. Like, there wasn't like a detailed bad scene, I guess, from Heather's perspective. So, and then also we get a third perspective, which is Dora, which is Heather's mom, and that is present day, and how she has dealt with the disappearance of her daughter, and kind of how she's let it affect her life, how she's grieving, and how she's just really having a hard time letting go. So she never really had that closure, and she kind of is still holding on to hope that she's going to find Heather, or that Heather's out there somewhere. She's just really struggling, and I loved that perspective. I just thought this story was so good in so many different ways. Like, I didn't know exactly what happened, but the growth and depth and everything in this was just so good. I highly recommend this. So those are all the books that I read in the month of June. Thank you so much for watching. If you like to see what I plan to read in July, stick around and I will share that really quickly. If not, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Okay, so here's just a quick preview of what I plan to read in July. So I just started last night Belladonna by Adeline Grace. Like I said at the very beginning of this video, I am very much in the mood to kind of get out of my comfort zone. I want to read fantasy. I want to read like exciting stuff that really just holds my attention, because I felt like a little slow in my reading, and I've also felt like I've been reading a lot of kind of predictable things, or like Christian romance, which can be kind of predictable, which is fine. It should be. Like, I don't want big surprising unhappy endings, I guess. But I just kind of want to, I'm just in the mood to get into some things that are a little bit different. So anyway, just started Belladonna last night, so that is definitely happening. I also plan to read Powerless and Powerful this month, so I'd like to tandem read these together and hope that I really enjoy that. For the Read Aloud Revival Mama Book Club, I plan on reading Once a Queen. This is like a adult, or YA, I think, fairy tale style story, so I'm excited about this one. I also have The Secret Book and Scone Society by Ellery Adams. This one is for the Comfy Cozy book club that's new, that Hannah at the Teachers TBR started, and this is the first month and I'm so excited about it, so I'll be reading this one for that. I also have The Last Murder at the End of the World by Stuart Turton. This book sounds so good to me. Even the negative reviews I've seen still make me think that I'm going to like it. So it's just kind of on my mind a lot. So I think I'll be picking this up really soon. And I'm just kind of excited for something a little bit different. This, I think, is like a mystery, a little bit of sci-fi. People were saying like kind of like Lost or The 100, and so anyway, I'm really looking forward to this, and I think that will be happening soon. Okay, the last one that I'm going to mention is for my Read Like a Favorite booktuber. So for July, I chose Krista at Books and Jams, and I'm reading one of her favorite books from last year, which is Drowning by TJ Newman. I have been looking forward to this for a long time. I don't know why I haven't read it yet, but I am going to get to it this month for Reading Like Krista, and I'm so excited. Okay, so I'm sure that I'm forgetting something, but oh, I am forgetting something. I forgot two things. Okay, so I'm also planning to read Becoming Elizabeth Elliot by Ellen Vaughn. This is for the Revive book club for the month of July, so I'm really looking forward to this. This is a biography about Elizabeth Elliot. So excited about that. And the last book I plan on reading this month is Night Falls on Predicament Avenue by Jamie Jo Wright. This will be my first Jamie Jo Wright book, and it is for a brand new in-person book club that I am so excited about. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to finally reading a Jamie Jo Wright book. I hope I'm not too scared, but I'm really looking forward to it. So those are my plans for the rest of July. That's a pretty big list, but I just wanted to share that with you since I didn't actually have a video for my July TBR, just kind of let you know what my plans are. I do plan on vlogging quite a bit this month, I think, so hopefully you'll get to see some vlogs coming out soon. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching this video, and I will talk to you next time.